Mandy McCracken.
Thank you. This is, yep. Cheers. Ooh. There you go. Ooh. Tall people. The further I sit away, the longer you have to clap for by the time I get here. It makes me feel good. So this is my husband, Rod. Thank you so much for having us up. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having us up tonight. Yes, I'm a sepsis survivor. Yeah, I can say that. I am. So this all started for us, and I say us because I think it's important that it's more than just me. On my daughter's 9th birthday, all hell broke loose, and I thought I had the flu. I felt incredibly sick, and I ended up in an intensive care ambulance rushing off to one of the big hospitals in Melbourne. Needless to say, 10 months and 2 days later, I made it home, and now I'm a quad amputee. And it's been a hell of a journey, as I'm sure you're aware of what this stuff's like. And I must admit, I wouldn't change it for the world. If you told me that I could go back and be back where I was 3 years ago, I would actually say to you, no thank you. I'm actually really happy with where I am today. And I think as a family, we have learned so much and grown so much over the last 3 years that we would not give it back. Now, we have some fun little photos for you. This is Rod's job. He gets to push buttons. All right, so that's me up there. Now, like Karina, I started with strep A and I ended up with sepsis, and you all know the story and how it works. And I've actually done 6 hospitals around Melbourne now, so if anybody needs a consultant as to the hospital food, I'm really good at that. And I can tell you that St Vincent's in Melbourne has the nicest food, and the Alfred Plastics department had the best looking doctors. Important things to know. And of course, we had to put our lives back together, and for me that was learning how to walk again and how to use my prosthetic limbs. So, go on. Yep. That one's called Alan.
We're going to do that.
And that one's called Alana. It's my party trick. I've now learned that I can pull my arms off and pass them around the room. Please, if anybody's interested in how they work. What we've got is inside electrodes, and they work on my muscles. So I flex my muscles the same as you moving your wrist backwards and forwards. And so one is for open and one is for close. If I had kept them on, I could have shown you, but sorry. Actually, Rod can do it. There you go. So we actually do quite a bit of public speaking with especially school kids, and they're all very impressed because I have Darth Vader's hands.
They're heavy.
Yeah, on this side. There we go.
Come on. Right. Now we're ready for the Halloween party next door.
Yeah! We've got some stories to tell. Please make sure we come back to that story about the little boy at the wedding. That was fun. So it took me 7 weeks to learn how to walk again. I was quite determined to do it in 2, but reality is it's actually really hard to learn how to walk on prosthetic legs. And I found that with a bit of real grit and determination, for me it was 7 weeks. Everybody has a different version. This is certainly not an easy thing to do, but I also had to learn how to use these arms, and I know Karina's actually doing this at the moment. So she gets electrodes strapped to her arm, and you have to sit there in front of a computer and flex your muscles open and close to learn how they work. and to get used to it. So for me, they gave me a bowl of grapes, and they gave me my new arm. I got it just before Christmas, and I locked myself in my hospital room. Wasn't quite as glamorous as a hotel. And I spent an afternoon picking grapes up and trying to feed myself grapes. So of course you pick them up and your hand immediately squishes it, grape juice everywhere. Pick it up, drop it, pick it up. And I worked out that if I picked it up and held it right above my head and opened up my hand, chances are it landed in my mouth. But of course, by the time I got to the bottom of the bowl, I had grape juice completely all over me, there were grapes all over the floor, and I had one down my bra. But now I'm pretty good with some grapes. So that's me in my stripy pyjamas. It's a lovely photo. It's me at a girls' weekend away, but it is a great example of what's underneath all this plastic fantastic, and this is our new life. Do you want to do us another photo?
Next page.
Now this is where I take over a microphone and we never hear from Rod. Please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I will.
The other day, on Wednesday night, we were actually at a technology conference down at one of the universities in Melbourne, and I got talking to a fellow there, and I asked him, why is he here? And he makes YouTube videos. Young, he would have been in his maybe late 20s, early 30s, and I said, what do you make videos of? And he uses drones to make videos. And I've just laughed and gone, all right, so you're the guy that hangs out the window of the 10-storey building and you take footage of people inside. No, he's not one of them. And he said what he does with his videos is he takes footage of architecture around Melbourne. And he said to me, it's amazing how people just don't appreciate architecture of just the simplest building, like an industrial building. Nobody actually stops and appreciates the architecture of a simple industrial building. And I said to him, I completely understand that, because I was in hospital and I was in ICU for 6 weeks, and I hadn't been outside for 6 weeks, and I hadn't seen anything except the walls of my ICU unit. And I was moved from hospitals, and it was the most magnificent Melbourne day, crisp, clean blue sky, and I was put into an ambulance, and for the first time in 6 weeks I got to see the outside world. And I saw it through an ambulance window, and I couldn't see the people on the street, but all I could see were the rooftops and the lacework of all the magnificent Victorian buildings and the blue sky and the clouds going past. And I hadn't seen it for 6 weeks, and it was just magnificent. And I said to this fellow, I understand exactly what you mean about the industrial building. We're all too busy to stop and see the beauty in life. So when I say to you, I wouldn't give this experience back, even though it's been incredibly hard work on our family, it has given me the chance to review. It's given me the chance to look at life differently. And I know for Rod, it's given us the chance to appreciate everything that we've got around us. And we couldn't see it before this happened. So now the hug that I get from my daughter, who's 7, she's now 7, I just cling on to that for dear life. It is just magic. And I reckon if I hadn't have had this experience, I wouldn't know how important that was. Give us another photo.
Okay.
You don't reckon you'll qualify for this?
You can probably just stay there,
How am I supposed to interject and tell my own version of events if I'm down there? Play on.
And I got out into the outside world and I got a chance to relive life again. Yeah, okay, I've got plastic arms and legs, it's all just a bit mad and very out there. But, to go down to the beach with the kids. I had the entire beach watching me that day. That was my first day I went back down to the beach, and I wallowed in that water for a good couple of hours, and it was just magnificent. And of course the kids immediately pushed me over, they thought it was fantastic. And, Stan went in places that I just can't reach anymore, but that's okay. The joy of that is just magnificent. Give us another photo.
Did you rip it through? Makes me feel useful.
Push it properly. There we go. God.
One of the things we learned pretty quick was that the internal stuff that we brought to our own marriages was about the only thing we had to play with, because I'm not changing for anyone. And so we kind of really rested back on what had got us to the age we were, and that was given to us by our parents and everything else, and that was really great. But one thing we always had was quite a irreverent sense of looking at the world, as we all have a tendency to do down here. And we were in Lorne, beautiful little beachside town, Mandy's sister's favourite place to go. We get a text at 9:30 at night, where are the photos? There's only one thing you can do at 9:30 at night when someone wants to see photos of Lorne, and that's to get your wife's prosthetic arm, put it in the fridge with a beer, take a photo and send it to her. Because it's 9:30 at night. And so we just really revelled in that opportunity to say, you know what, this is kind of what it is. And we're not going to shy away from that. So Alana and Alan have wonderful adventures. We've got some great photos where Alan is squishing a poodle in the distance. One of my favourites. And actually, this one here was at Easter. And the guy in the background, so Mandy's pretending to be that she fell off the monkey bars. The guy came round the corner and this poor bloke didn't know where to go. And of course my whole family's standing around laughing at her. He didn't know whether to laugh. It's a fantastic opportunity to start to really mess with some of the things that we kind of take for granted, and our arms and legs are a perfect example of that kind of thing. So yeah, we really enjoy taking a lot of humour into this because, well, let's face it, it is kind of funny.
Oh, it's not.
Well, it is. That is funny.
That is funny. We had a hilarious day. I know there's a few policemen in the room. We live in country Victoria in a little town, middle of nowhere, and we went for a drive with a relative from the States, and we came up to this general store in the middle of nowhere in country Victoria, and there were probably 20 cop cars, and there were cops everywhere. And this town, nothing ever happens in this town. And so we've walked up to this group of cops and said, what on earth is going on? And of course this fellow turned around and said to me, we're here to arrest you. And I've gone, bring it on, sunshine, this is great. And I stuck both my arms out, and he'd never met me before, and I had a shirt on that covered the fact that my arms were connected, prosthetic arms. Got out his handcuffs, he handcuffed me to himself. I pulled my arm off, walked away, and his entire team just lost it. I don't think he will ever live that one down. And the beauty of this is, we started this conversation with this guy, a complete stranger, and now, I would consider him a dear friend. And, without this situation, we would not have had that, and we wouldn't stop and take the time to appreciate little interactions with complete strangers like that. Just magnificent, loved it. Can you give us another photo?
See if you can do a better job than me.
Just push, yep, bingo.
Nice.
Our way of dealing with this, a lot of people have said, how have you come out the other end? And we have laughed. And that's just the way that Rod and I work. Yeah, the picture on the left says, warning, limbs may fall. My arms are down the bottom, love it. It's been incredibly cathartic for us to do that because it's made it really comfortable for everyone around us to be part of the conversation. And one thing that we found was our friends and family didn't know how to deal with this. Like, this is really hard to deal with. And for us, this was us giving them permission to get past that uncomfortable aspect and join us on the ride. So in actual fact, it's actually helped a great deal because, when we had people come and visit us in hospital and they really didn't know quite what to do and which way to look, we all, laughed and cried together. So it made a huge difference. Do you want to give us another photo?
One thing I think you can all come to appreciate a bit more after experiencing, the last year and a half and for us 3 years is the importance of coming together. John Donne famously said once that no man is an island. And for us, what we learned very quickly was that when the chips are down, we're really good at getting behind each other. Mandy was the president of the P&F at our local primary school. I taught half the town, and when Mandy was sick, the outpouring of insert adjective, it really doesn't matter, was incredible. This is a photo of Mandy's wall in the hospital, in the burns unit, and it actually got to the point where we'd covered all 4 walls and then we had to hit up the windows, and I'm there hanging up these cards going, there goes your view. It was quite incredible. And the net result of that is that there's not just a greater level of awareness that we can bring to various issues, which is great, but the opportunity that we've all got to stop and say, hey, let's look at what we've got around us and let's look at what we're part of, because from my side, I can tell you right now, there's a hell of a mountain to climb, and the fact that you got 100 people in this room, particularly behind Daniel, is incredible. Let her talk. She's fine. I'm really not that important. It doesn't matter. But the fact that you guys are here and the fact that you're able to recognise the importance of that, but also to just complete strangers. It's absolutely incredible that Mandy and I now have an opportunity after 3 years to stop and meet incredible people, complete strangers, and talk about life and talk about sky and colour of grass and a whole range of different things, and the importance of that is genuinely incredible. All jokes aside, and I don't want to put words in Daniel's mouth, I can tell you that much, but having been where he's sat, to know he's got 100 people behind him, it just makes it so much easier. Your turn.
So for us to be able to come and share our story and to understand where other people have been before and they're going through the same thing, it really fills us with a massive sense of pride and warmth. We have a nice little community of quad amputees. Oddly enough, it keeps growing. We're there to support each other, and to know that we've got a team, all of us, each one of us has got this incredible team behind us that is our community and supporting us through it is just magnificent. And the fact that you've taken the time to put a charity together and you're looking towards helping other people who are going through the same scenario is just incredible. And without that support, this journey would be so much more difficult. And those pictures on that wall there, I've still got them in a box, and every once in a while I pull them out. And they're all just cards from complete strangers telling me that they're thinking of me. And I bring it out every once in a while. I'm 3 years down the track and my world is so different to where, Corinne is at the moment. But
Her name's Karina.
Karina. There's another girl, Corinne, up in Brisbane. Corinne and Karina, sorry. to be where she is now and for her to know that you're there is just worth its absolute weight in gold. And I would congratulate you all on supporting them because you're doing a magnificent job. Thanks so much.